time for Global Insight, where we speak to experts from around the world on issues making headlines. With efforts to bolster cooperation between South Korea and Latin America, a forum was held this week in the southern port city of Busan. The two-day Korea-LAC Future Cooperation Forum was co-hosted by Seoul's Foreign Ministry and Busan City, gathering over 200 participants, including diplomats, people in business, and experts from 15 Central and South American nations. Topics included expanding cooperation in mineral, energy, digital and infrastructure sectors. And South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin has also been holding talks with ministers and vice ministers from 8 countries from the region to discuss bilateral ties. And today we have the honour of speaking with Luis VAYAS VALDIVIESO, Vice Minister of the Foreign Affairs of Ecuador, and we welcome him in studio today. A very warm welcome to you, Vice Minister. Thank you for joining us here in Seoul.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's an honor to be here in Arirang with you.
Well, it's an honor to have you on our show. And, well, I believe you've been in the southern port city of Busan until just yesterday. And, well, you've been in Seoul and Busan, so how has your experience been in the country so far?
Actually, very nice. You know, I would like to also express my gratitude to the government of Korea and the people of Korea. You make us feel at home here in this country. We feel very fine, and very important meetings actually in Busan. We had 2 days meetings. We have the forum, but also we had bilateral meetings with other countries from Latin America, but also with the authorities of Busan. We had with the mayor of Busan, Mr. Park, and also with the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Korea, Mr. Park. Also, we had a very good meeting, very useful, and also to strengthen the relation between Korea and Latin American countries and to each of our countries. We have bilateral meetings with the Korean authorities to strengthen cooperation, business, trade, investments, so actually very fruitful meetings.
Right, and I believe later in the day you have a meeting with your counterpart at Seoul's Foreign Ministry, and, well, of course, you'll be talking about our very special bilateral ties. And South Korea and Ecuador's relationship goes back decades, and it's actually a very special relationship because Quito helped Seoul really rebuild from the ashes of the Korean War, and Ecuador has been a great friend to South Korea over the past 60 years. And, well, what significance does South Korea have to Ecuador?
Yes. Well, we are celebrating now our 60th anniversary of the official relations between Korea and many of the Latin American countries, among those Ecuador, 60 years, so which is quite good. But also our relations, bilateral relations, they come from before, also as a strong relations. In the 50s, during the Korean War, Ecuador was member of the Security Council in the UN, and we had a strong position also supporting Korea during the war. And like you mentioned, also we sent food and medicine during the war from Ecuador to Korea. And that relation has been stronger and stronger during the years. I think it's very important to mention also the first car from Hyundai to be exported from here to the world came to Ecuador. It came to the city of Guayaquil, a pony, Hyundai pony. That's right. And yes, and they have brought back to the museum of Hyundai the car to Korea. So that's the relation between our countries. And nowadays we are strengthening the relations with trade, with investment, with cooperation, which is so important. Korea is a good example to be followed by countries in South America and I think all over the world.
Right, and of course Ecuador is a very resource-rich country, while South Korea has virtually none. We do have technology though, so there are a lot of areas that the two countries could really talk about, and I believe some of these issues may have been addressed at the forum you were just at. But moving forward though, in light of the global challenges we face in trade and supply chains, how could South Korea and Ecuador really work together to be able to really strengthen their economic security?
Well, in different areas. I mentioned that in the 50s we were members of the Security Council at the UN. We will be back to the Security Council as members, no permanent members, next year from 2023 to 2024. And Korea will be also member of the Security Council in 2024. So we will have 1 year together. So in multilateralism, we are working together, not only in the UN, but other fields. We are working together in different international organizations with Korea. And in the bilateral relations, the same. Cooperation in different fields. Agriculture field, we have also in the environment field. It's very important that we have this cooperation. You know, we have the Galapagos Island, that is a World Heritage declared by UNESCO. And we've been talking with Korea also to work together with cooperation to keep the marine reserve that Ecuador enlarged. We have already, we had from before a very extensive marine reserve in the Galapagos, and we have extended last January to 60,000 more kilometers. So it's around 200,000 square kilometers, the reserve marine. And we are talking with Korea also to keep the control and supervise this marine reserve. That's environment. And we have other fields that we are cooperating to, agriculture and international world too. We are facing right now huge problems. We have the war in Ukraine. We have very similar positions. We have the same principles between Ecuador and Korea. Democracy, respect to human rights, and we are working together, for instance, in the international sphere about the Ukrainian war, or the war in Ukraine, and we have had very strong positions condemning the invasion from Russia to Ukraine, and also helping like you say, the trade after the problems that we are facing because of the war. It's important that countries, we get together. So we keep trade going on, we keep investments going on, we keep businesses going on.
Exactly, and well, what potential do you see for South Korean businesses hoping to maybe invest in Ecuador or expand their presence there?
They are already investing in Ecuador. Main Korean companies are in Ecuador, and we see a great potential. We talk in Busan. We will be talking today, like you mentioned, here in the bilateral meetings that we have at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, with the possibility of opening, for instance, a big car industry company from, of course, Korea in Ecuador. That will be it will be an honor, and we will be very happy to do so. I think there is the potential, there is the stability, and there is the will, political will, also to do such a business.
Right, as you said, very common values on the rule of law, democracy, and
exactly.
Human rights. And well, as we share many of these similar values, what are some ways that South Koreans and Ecuadorians could really deepen their cultural exchanges as well, from people to people?
Exactly, and we have a strong cooperation from people to people. I think it could be even stronger. You know, we have because of the celebration of the 60 years anniversary, we have a lot of cultural exchange between Ecuador and Korea. We have already 2 centers in Ecuador, one in Guayaquil and Quito, the main cities, or the most populated cities in Ecuador. We have also Korean centers where you can learn about Korean culture and also the language. So that's very important, and we are happy to do so. We have exhibitions from the main artists from Ecuador here in Korea, and also Korean artists in Ecuador. So that way we have the exchange between people and people. And Korea is helping also a lot Ecuador about human mobility. Our Ministry for Foreign Affairs, you know, we take care of foreign affairs and also human mobility. Ecuador is receiving Venezuelan citizens. Because of the problems in Venezuela, we have received around 500,000 of Venezuelans. And Korea is helping also to help us, the Venezuelans in Ecuador. And we are very happy to tell that. Right. So the relations actually are strong, but of course, you know, we can go stronger and stronger.
Right, so cooperating in the human mobility front,
yes,
as well. And well, this might be a very superficial layer to the relationship between the two countries, but when South Koreans think about Ecuador, we normally think of the wonderful coffee, the horticultural industry, the beautiful flowers, the Ecuadorian roses, right? And I believe that the two countries will resume their trade talks soon. And what are ways that they can really deepen their trade relationship?
Yes, the trade agreement is something that we should have had some years ago, many years ago. Unfortunately, in 2016, we stopped the negotiations, unfortunately. But we have reopened. We are, again, actually this month in July, a delegation from Ecuador will come to have the first round of negotiations for the trade agreement. We are quite happy. It's something that we need to have the free trade agreement with Korea. And of course, the agreement will help also to strengthen the trade, investment, and business relations between the two countries.
Right, and would this increased South Korean presence be welcomed in Ecuador? How are South Koreans generally perceived in your country?
Well, I think we see Korea, as I said before, as an example to be followed. The development in Korea that we see is something that, again, is an example. It's an example for Ecuador, it's an example for the whole world, and we have to look at it. We should learn more about Korea. We should learn more about the Korean culture. That's why we have these two centers. But it's something that we are doing so. I think we need more exchange, cultural exchange between the two countries, also to learn more about Korea. But I think it's coming. It's coming, and we are happy to do so.
Right, and in terms of diplomacy, global diplomacy really, it seems that Ecuador and South Korea, as you mentioned, we share many similar global values. And in terms of really promoting multilateralism, which we seem to be rather short of these days, given all the geopolitical conflicts and just these trade risks as well, what are ways that the two countries can really increase or strengthen the sense of multilateralism in the world? And what kind of position do you think they play as many say middle power countries? Yes,
well, as you mentioned, we share the same values about human rights, democracy, liberties, but also, from our side, from the Ecuadorian side, our foreign policy is based in peace. We want a diplomacy for peace, for trade. We want a diplomacy also to change for good the environment, to have this ecological transition. Actually, we have a minister and a ministry for ecological transition also in Ecuador. And these same values and all the bases for our diplomacy, for our foreign policy, we can work together with Korea. And actually it doesn't happen with all the countries in the world. With some countries you can work in some fields, with others in other fields. But with Korea, actually we can work in all fields. That is the base of our foreign policy. And we are doing so in the multilateralism world, but also in bilateral relations. So I'm going to talk about that. These issues, also these topics with the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs today at the meeting of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs.
I see. Well, we've celebrated 60 years of official bilateral relations between South Korea and Ecuador. And of course, you said that it actually stretches back to before that. But in terms of moving forward into the future, how do you see the bilateral relationship really evolving from this point onwards?
Well, I see it in the two ways mainly. Well, of course, in general with multilateralism and bilateral cooperation, but also working in specific topics. Environment, I think, is something very important. Ecuador is quite committed with the environment, and also we are members at the moment of the negotiation committee that will work with a treaty on plastic pollution. Ecuador is member of the committee now. We would like to chair the committee. We hope to have the support of Korea for chairing the committee, and I think it's something that we could work together. Also in the other field, that is trade, investments, business, we can do, and we can even strengthen that relation with Korea. I think that's the future, and I think we should go and look for it.
Right, and well, before you go, you've been to South Korea's two largest cities, really, Seoul and the southern port city of Busan. And of course, Quito is one of the most stunning capitals in Latin America. And well, for any South Korean visiting, what would you recommend as Vice Foreign Minister?
Well, they are very welcome to Ecuador. We have invited your authorities. We had a meeting also with President Yoon yesterday. We hope to see the president, the ministers for foreign affairs of the Korean authorities in Ecuador, and the people of Korea also visiting our country. We are warm people. We are opening our doors also for tourism, and we were talking with Mayor of Busan, Mr. Park. He will also like to visit Ecuador. We hope that will be soon, and we would like to also to strengthen relations between local governments, between cities, between Busan in this case and Ecuadorian cities.
And media exchange too, of course.
Exactly.
You could invite myself and my co-anchor. We'd be delighted.
Please.
Given the opportunity. But
you are very welcome to Ecuador.
Well, thank you very much for joining us in studio today, Vice Minister. It was a pleasure and a privilege to have you on our programme.
It has been very nice to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.